When I just moused over it, it told me to let the organizer know.
Okay, I just started it.
Thank you, Trevor. Sorry about that.
No worries. Okay, so one of the first things that we're going to need from you, since you guys are not set up, I went ahead and looked on your accounts. What we would need is, let me show you here. We would need to know, we would actually set up a program type at this point right here, and then we would need like, let me show you what we have here. I don't want to see the deleted, just want to see these. We would need a description, and I'll show you where this comes into play in just a moment, but for this specific county, you would select a program of, say, temporaries, and then you would have 1 to 3 days, and then maybe another one with 4 to 7 days, etc. Let me go back and show you where that comes into play. So from the main menu, you would click on the temporary establishments right here. And if I was going to create a brand new one, we have the add button icon right here. And of course, these are just search filters, just like on the regular establishments page. The same functionality with all of these buttons down here. I'm going to click here, and what it's going to do is, currently, you guys do not have a program set up or a type. So what I would do is, yeah, that would be active. Come here, select the temporaries, and then select the type of permit that you want to give them. Here's some examples that Peoria uses. I'll select here, and then the permit number. They have a unique permit number. There we go. And the status, we will say this is I'll just put printed. And the name of the organization. I don't think anything else is required.
Okay, here's my question.
Sure.
Because in my mind, how we need this to work is we need to be able to put in, so an event person calls in and says, hey, I'm having Aaron is Awesome Day, and that's my event, and I'm going to have 5 food trucks. So then we would go in and create this Aaron is Awesome event, put in the event coordinator, do all this stuff, how many trucks, we're going to provide electricity, I'm going to provide ice and potty toilet things. There needs to be a space for that, and then in my mind, we should be able to then also create in like events or coordinator or food trucks. So then I would have Scott's food truck, Joni's food truck, and then I can link those two together. Is that possible on this?
Like subcategories, like.
Yep, let me show you.
Okay. Because I don't want to we're not going to put in event information every single time. Like I should be able to click down and put in 2019 Aaron is Awesome event, and it should autofill, in my opinion.
Okay.
That's the only way I see this happen.
Food truck. This could be Aaron's event right here. Come down here and save it. So now we have basically Aaron's event. This is the name of the actual event. I can click here and then hit copy. For that specific event, you could basically say this is food truck 1, and then give the information that you want. Maybe this is for me.
Trevor, just to avoid confusion, I would think the event description would be Aaron's event. I would use that stand location to identify the individual trucks.
Ah, okay. I see what you're saying. What would you put in the organization name then, John?
For this particular example, I'd probably just, I would, when I set up the initial one, I'd probably just use it as both. You know, if there was, if you have the name of an organization who is conducting the event,
Right.
say Erin was conducting the event herself, I'd put her name in the organization name and then put the event description, Erin is awesome event, in event description.
Okay. Oh. So here's that event. Let me just do that over. Forget the first one that I created. So on this one, we would just select this, then click the copy button. It's going to allow you to create another one here. And then you can change the name.
We'll have to, hey Trevor, make note of that. We'll have to take a look at that. That program should be coming back with temporaries already pre-populated, because that's what this page is for.
This one right here?
Yeah, it shouldn't be forcing you to make a selection there.
Okay. And then I hit save. So now I've got 2 of these selected. Does that answer your question or your needs?
Can we pull up reports then, I guess? Then
Reports as far as inspection reports, or
Like-
reports as in what?
as in, like, then we need to create a list to give to the inspectors as far as everyone who's going to be at Erin's event. Does that make sense? Are there reports in there for that?
What you could do, Trevor, one option for that would be do a search here by the event description. Click in the awesome event. If you're just looking to get a list of and then just, yeah.
Okay, we might be able to play around with that.
Okay,
Okay, there's an Excel version for that same thing as well.
right here.
Okay, so here's my question leading into this. So we start getting contacted by people in February, event people. So Erin's event, I called and I said, well, I don't know who my people are going to be. I don't know who, but I'm having this event in August and I just want to touch base with you. Can I just create an event?
Like before anybody even calls you, like you know that there's going to be like an Apple Festival or something like that?
Yes.
Sure.
It's a given. We're going to have certain events and they contact us pretty early and we get a feel for we're going to have 10.
Okay. So basically the same thing that we just went to, and of course the organization name is the actual required field on here, but you could make that, you know, the name of your event, or you can also duplicate it down here too.
Yeah. Again, don't mean to interrupt you, Trevor, but I think just to avoid confusion,
Right.
I would, like that, and then the organization name, if it was being held by like the local Lions Club or something.
Right. I see what you're saying. And then we'll just hit save. Nothing's on this one.
You called it Apple Festival.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, the organization was Lions Club.
Yep. So then you have this generic one right here. And then, of course, you can go back into the copy. You can actually edit this one if you wanted to. Go back in here and put in your first truck or whatever you want to call this. And then just save it. And at that point, just like we did before. Just click here and hit copy, and you can create the rest of them that way.
Okay, that might be doable. We'll have to get Kim's blessing on all of this.
Okay.
Hey, this is Joni, and I think Dola and I were here talking, and I think from our standpoint, I think for under where it says event, I think putting the name of the event is fine, but under organization name, to me, that would make the most sense to put the name of the food stand. Like, Bubba Grump's Smoked Pretzels is going to be at Abundant Life Family Festival as the event description. And then the contact name is Bubba, whatever his last name is.
Right.
Stand location, Alton, Illinois. To me, that makes the most sense. And then a question is there any way on this that you can do like a quick link or somehow see if they have an annual permit? Because currently we don't charge the people that have annual permits because they're already paying for an annual permit, and then we, see what I'm saying? So that way we can mark it somewhere that they are an annual permit holder.
John, that one's
Or would we just have to go in and look? Because like right now we just go in, and if we think it sounds familiar, because sometimes they don't mark it. We have a spot on the application where they're supposed to mark, but they don't always. So sometimes they slip through the cracks. So I didn't know if there was a way that we could do like a.
Let me just make sure I understand. So you're like, so say you got a licensed restaurant.
Yes,
that gets
that's
an annual
doing a
permit.
temporary.
And they're gonna send, a couple people and set up a food stand and provides, a shortened menu there for this temporary
Right.
event. Okay. No, we don't have that. That currently isn't in the system now, but that's certainly something that we could take a look at. That wouldn't really be that hard to do.
That'd be just a look up over here, John.
Yeah, because that would be nice if we knew that they had an annual, if we could somehow pull up their annual and link it somehow to the temporary,
So
or vice
are you-
versa.
In that case, does that mean you want to let them, because they have to have a permit posted, correct?
Yes, they still get a permit, yeah.
Okay, but in this case, they would just post a copy of their annual permit. Is that what you're getting at?
Aaron, is that what they do? Do they just post or do they just still use their inspection that they get at the temporary event?
I feel like I'm kind of lost in this conversation.
Do they receive a new permit number for the event, or do they operate underneath the year?
Yes, they do. They do get a new permit number, yeah.
Okay, so you would want to link it just
Even if it was just a button that says, "Is this person an annual permit holder?" or something, to where we could see how many. It would be easy for reporting purposes to see how many annuals are we having going out doing temporary events.
Right.
Even if it was just
Can
something
we?
like
We
that.
could add that at the bottom of the page in our custom fields that I figured out how to maneuver.
if you can take it as just like a yes or no type question, just so you can identify those. Yes, that would be the easiest way to. Yeah, that could. Aaron's exactly correct.
I would think that would help with their reporting that they're going to be doing, so if they want to look up different metrics and things. So
Sure.
Just a thought.
Sure. And as far as what you want to put in for the organization name and how you want to identify them, that's completely up to you.
Okay.
The other thing I had a question about was whenever you created just that, like whenever Aaron gave the example of an event coordinator calling in and saying, okay, we're doing this event in 3 months. We know we're going to have 5 food trucks.
Right.
And you created that
Kind of like a
kind of
placeholder.
like the placeholder. It issued a permit number for that. Is there any way for those, would you end up using that then for one of your trucks, or how does that work?
Yeah, that's the way I would do
issuing
it.
permit numbers.
Well, I mean, there again, that's up to you also, because you can set up the temporary record as an event without actually issuing it a permit.
Correct.
It just as a placeholder so that you can do searches like what Trevor had when he searched for the awesome event and then he saw the food trucks. So you would see like in that case you would see Apple Festival as it shows there with no permit number, but then you would see Apple Festival food truck 1 with a permit number, food truck 2 with a permit number, and so on. So it would serve kind of yeah, like so say that first one said awesome event. You would see that there was no permit number, no permit expiration date, but the other two, truck 1 and truck 2, would have permit numbers.
Do these auto-generate? Looks like they're auto-generated.
Those are establishment numbers. Those are unique
They
identifiers.
auto-generate on the annual side.
Okay.
Right,
So I would
and
assume that they would auto-generate on the temp.
They do, but that's not the permit number. That's just the establishment number.
Okay.
That's just a unique identifier in our system.
Okay. The permit number would be right
there.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay.
Can we, how does one is the temporary event permit generation as complicated as it is for your annual stuff?
Could you explain that?
Well, and for the establishments, are you talking about from the annual renewal where you're doing them in batches?
Yeah, it's just how long have we been using you guys? And Kim just finally was able to figure out how to generate one. So I didn't know if it was as complicated as that, or is it an easy breezy, just print them off kind of thing?
No, it's. See, I've been working with it so long, it seems pretty simple to me. So Trevor, say truck number 1. They actually came in and they want to get their permit because they're going to be at this event. So you'd select that truck 1 temporary that you set up and then click permit fee.
Oh, okay. You're talking about AR.
Right, because she was asking about actually issuing the permit. You can just hit save. You don't have to put nothing in there.
All right.
I think.
Hey, this is Molly. I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. Real quick. I think we want to be able to print more than one at a time. So we're going to print the whole batch. Is that going to?
Yeah, like that was going to be my thing. Was she would want to print like all of the ones for the Apple Festival at once, or however many events they have. Can you pick and choose which events you want to print?
Like, because she may have 5 events for one weekend. She might want to print all those at one time, but not print all of them that have ever existed.
I'm gonna let me try something here. I'm gonna let Trevor just hold tight there for a minute.
Yep.
Trevor, you're on demo server, correct?
Yes.
Okay, yes, you can generate the permits in batches. So it's basically done the same way as you do the other establishments. Let's see, what I'm going to do is, here, Trevor, why don't you make me presenter?
All right.
I wasn't sure if we had that set up for temporaries or if there was anything that
Okay, you should be good to go, John.
Okay, so on the temporaries, now I just created a permit fee for truck number 2. So let me, I'm going to select the, well, let me make sure I got that right one. All right, so it was 99.80. Okay. All right, so if I go and I generate the permit fee for after I set them up, they come in and they come in and they pay it. Let's say October 31st, they're expiring. So when you record their payment, you have the same option that you do on the other establishments, the regular establishments. So you put in a 150 payment information and leave this unchecked. If you check that, it's going to give you the permit immediately. If you leave it unchecked, you save this, and the only thing it's going to generate then is a receipt, no permit. And then in the permit generation, I'll just go in and select my temporaries. Do a generate. So, and this was one that was out there from prior. So it generated the 2 that I just set up are right here. So they've both paid, so they're ready to have their permits generated. So let's just to get, so say I did that generate and it came up with these 2, that would then do update. It now assigned them form numbers and it's going to print those 2 permits. There's one. Truck 1 and.
Okay, so so then Kim's gonna be able to see, like, if we have 300 people that have paid for temporary permits, she's gonna have to filter through all of those to be able to select the ones that she wants to print. Is that what I'm seeing?
So yeah, because I think the question was you wanted to print just for a particular event, correct?
So you can just print it for an event, not necessarily. We're not going to have to look at all the events of people who've paid.
You can like select a certain event.
Well, we don't have that on there now. What we would have to add in there would be this here. No, that's not what I'm looking for. We would have to add this in here. It's called establishment name, but that's where the event is showing up. Okay, so there's the 2 that I generated. It's Aaron's event shows up under establishment, which is the event. We would need to just put in, we could put in a search filter here to search by a name. And then it would limit that so that you could generate, because when you click the update and to print the permits, it's only going to run for the ones that are in your, whatever your result set is here.
What were the other options there under your drop down for type where it says has been printed? What were those other options?
So if you wanted to see those that have not been that have made their payments, but they haven't, you haven't run their permits yet, they don't have a form number there, that would be, those are the ones that will receive their license. They've paid and everything, you just haven't created the permit yet. So in this case, it's not going to have any records. Okay, the ones that
drop
have,
down, then it would eliminate some of those ones, Aaron.
Yeah, and then can you, so you could sort by date, like if the event was a certain date, it looks like you could click, you know, for a Saturday and all the Saturday stuff would come up and then you could print the permits that way, right?
yeah, no, unfortunately, that's not what this date range applies to. This is so
Okay.
that, like, if you wanted to go back and you knew you generated a batch last Friday and you wanted to get those to reprint them, say that you had them on here, but you never clicked the print button, and the window with the crystal report for the permits, you've since closed it. This would be for you to go back and get those. What I'm thinking is, in addition to adding the event search on here, we probably could just put in a, what was the date you're looking for? Expiration date or?
I think it was just like the date of the event. You know, if you put that in, if you put the event date in, you should be able to search for the date, sort of, and then print all of the events from that date.
Let's see.
Would you guys ever have multiple events at the same time?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So we don't actually have a field call event date.
That might be very helpful.
Yeah, it sure would. Let me just make some notes here.
Because I don't know, I can't speak for other counties, but I mean, I know we have several April Fests or whatever. I don't know, I'm burnt out on temporary events, but they seem to name themselves after the same things. So we can't just name, we need those certain search criteria. You know, we have an Apple Fest in Alton and an Apple Fest in Edwardsville, so we need to know city, we need to know dates because they might be on 2 different weekends. I guess these are all things that we would be looking for. You don't need to add them, obviously. You know, we're just trying to get an idea if we could use this portion instead of using Excel and whatever other items Kim uses.
Yeah, but when you make these suggestions, Kim, Aaron, sorry, you know, first of all, the event dates, that makes total sense to me, to have these where you're identifying the event dates. And what I'm relating this to another version of our environmental health software that we have for, it's a federal contract we have with Indian Health Services. It's a small branch of the military that provides service to all the Native American tribes and reservations across the country. And on their temporaries, they do have the event date range, and they also have, this would be a pretty major change, and I think we can work around this one, but they also have it to where they would set up what they call parent-child records. So you would set up the event as the parent, and then each of the vendors that would be child records, so they would time. Now, we do have ways that you can, by using the copy function, it kind of serves the same purpose. But so far, everything you've asked for makes total sense to me. What I'd like to do is take these suggestions and just as a courtesy to the other counties, make sure that they don't have any issues with this. I can't imagine they would. I mean, this is all additional stuff. And as long as everybody's good with it, I think these are enhancements we need to make to our system, not just for you guys, but for everybody. And that being the case, we would do these at no charge. So right now, what I have here so far is add an event date range to the temporary establishments that we're looking at right now, so that you can identify for the event dates, and when it gets copied, that should get copied over to each one of the actual, like, say, food trucks in this example, and then being able to run the permits to add event dates and an event name to the search for those.
Is the temporary event stuff just something that we aren't utilizing, or will we be billed for the use if we start using this?
No, it's included in what you're already paying. Yeah, I mean, and any of the changes that we've talked about making here just now, none of them are that, really that involved. It's not, we're not talking like a major overhaul to the system anyway. So I think I would consider these just a couple tweaks to the system that would make it not only more usable for you, but I think it would be added value for the other counties too. So here's what I would propose for this. Give us a little bit of time to make the changes that I talked about. And before we move them into production, why don't we put them on this server here that we're looking at out on demo, just like you guys did with the mobile. You took it for a test ride, and you might have even done it with some IMS changes in the past. If your access has been revoked or expired or whatever to this server, we'll reactivate that again. And why don't you guys try it out and see, and we can even maybe set up a call to walk you through using that, setting up some, an event record, then setting up some trucks, and then running permits, creating the fees form, generating the permits, and the whole process. We could do that. We could probably do all that within like an hour or so. A webinar type thing.
I think that sounds like a good idea. We were just talking about that, about potentially putting in some, using some applications that we have in the, and putting them in and make sure that we're not missing anything.
If you want to do that prior to me making any changes or having us do any changes, we can give you access to it now, like get you set up and let you go ahead and start it, and then come back and and see if there's any other things that you need in that, and we can talk about those too. I'm sorry, Aaron, did I cut you off? I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, Kim's not here. So she might want to just do it live, or maybe she wants, like a fake server to play around with. I don't know. That would be something I'd let her decide with, and work with Joni and Dola.
Okay. I just have a question as an inspector that's going to view previous records. So let's say they go out and they do an inspection, and they want to see the last inspections for the Lions Club. And so when they pull it up, they'll see all Lions Club, like from the previous years or the previous stands or the previous events.
It depends where you're going to be looking at it. If you're talking about in mobile, you're only going to see in the inspection history the inspections for, if you're using that same temporary again, you'd only see the history for that temporary. So in other words, if it was, Aaron's event, and it was a Taco Bell food truck, and it's the same truck going out from the same Taco Bell, you would see its inspection from last year. I mean, the history of inspections is going to, you almost have to think of each one of these that you set up here just like you do your licensed establishments.
If you start incorporating the parent-child of that, can you then look up what each child is doing? You know, like then it would be Lions Club is what I'm going to assume. So what you'd be able to see all the stuff that Lions Club has done at that point?
That would be very difficult to do in mobile. What we could do.
What about on your actual website, not necessarily from their laptop out in the field?
Yeah, sometimes
Okay.
they just want to like look it up just to see, you know, what the last scores were before they do the event. It's not necessarily while they're out on the event.
Okay, so let's do this here. Let me I'm just going to throw out I'm going to throw out an inspection real quick for truck number 1. And I'm only going to put in just the bare minimum that I need to get the record out there. I think that's everything. Okay, so I have this one temporary inspection on file now. So if I go here, so now we don't have an establishment name search here. What we could do, again, the event, this is establishment, this really should almost be labeled event or establishment / event, because in the case of a temporary, it's an event name. So we could put a name search up here again, which would be a very minor tweak to allow you to get all of Aaron's events inspections. And if you wanted to look at last year's, then you would just put, you know, 1/1/18 through 12/31/18, and you would get only the ones from last year for Aaron's event. So again, you would be able to, as long as you're doing the temps the way we talked about, yeah, that we could do that.
Wait, so we wouldn't be able to look up and filter by all the Lions Club inspections or Elks because they have a bajillion barbecues? I would have to literally be looking it up by Aaron's event.
No, we could put.
Yeah, because a lot of inspectors really don't know what events they had previously been at. They just know that Lions Club's on their list and they need to do it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we could put name searches on that inspection page for both of these. And that way you could search either way. So if this all said Lions Club here, yeah, we could have that in there.
That would work.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I got that listed as a third change. And again, that's an easy enough change for us where I don't have to send you a cost quote or anything for that. We just take care of that.
Okay. Joni or Dola, does anyone else have any questions about temporary events?
Well, I was just gonna. Can you go back to the main page there? Can you just hit? I just wanted to see something, like hit cancel or save or whatever. Because I was thinking, well, like on our annual permit, there on the far left, there's that little I where you can if you search for an establishment, you can click that I and see like all their inspection scores and stuff. Is that something that will be on there that they could do? Because that would be another, if so, that would be another way that they could search for Lions Club, and then Lions Clubs would pull up, and then their inspections would be right there. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, we could put that on there. And again, that would be easy enough to do. However, when you do that, it's only going to show you the inspections for, you know, say if I clicked it here for truck number 2, that's only going to show me the inspections on that particular,
for that event. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you might have 50 Lions Clubs, but
yeah.
I was just trying to think of like a quick view type thing. But I don't know. That's all I got.
So is the key there to be able to see the inspections for all inspections that were done by events that were held by Lions Club? Because if that's what you're
Well,
looking
I'm not 100% sure what they were originally wanting to see. That's a inspector question. I was just trying to figure out an easier way for them to see it. I don't know exactly what they were wanting.
Okay, because the way you're describing it, it sounds like they, with us adding some additional search filters to this page, it sounds like that would give it to them. But if not, if you get some clarification.
Oh, actually, it might not, because to be quite honest, I'm the one who requested to take away the privilege for all the inspectors to see what the other inspectors did. They can only see what they've done.
Well, what we
They're nosy.
what we can do though is we can, when by the user signed on, we can filter this box. Say I'm signed on as admin right now, so we can have this so where they can only see their own. Right,
but
I see what you're saying.
Everyone is doing inspections for Elks Club, so
Right.
It wouldn't be beneficial. That it's useless for them to use this search button. It's mostly me and Molly who utilize this page.
Unless they can have access to just the temporary info.
Which I don't want to. We're not going to pay for any special search like that or anything.
So if it's not an admin person, you would want them to be able to see would you want them to be able to see all inspections for temporary establishments? But not,
I think it'd be too much work. No, I mean, I think this would be useless for them because I don't want them to be able to see other people's normal inspections. We
could filter that to be only the temporaries.
I think that they're going to need it.
I mean, if it'd be easy enough, but if it's something that's work, like I said, I'm not willing to pay the extra money to have something like that fixed for us.
Let me talk. I don't think that's going to be that big of a deal. That one I need to go. I'm going to need to go back to my lead developer to see how much that would, what type of effort that would be. But I'm suspecting that's not going to be that difficult. Nothing so far that we've talked about right now is at a point where we would charge you for any of these changes. And I think that, so basically what we would need, so what we could do is we could put the same search that we have here, the program. So you see, well, they don't have, that's regular establishments, temporaries. See, this page already this is filtering by temporaries only. So we could do the same type of thing on this page here, where if it's not an admin person, or actually I think maybe the best thing to do would be just put the program drop down on here and then just limit it to temporaries when it's not an admin person. And if that's I don't think that would be that tough, but I'm going to have to confirm that one with my developers. But we could do that, I think, and that wouldn't. I don't think that would be the big of a deal. Let me get back to you on that one. Okay, so what I'm going to look at on that one is if we add that program there and they select temporaries, then the restriction on what EHS they would see would be removed. If they don't select temporaries, if they either leave the program as all or they select food service, then they should only see the ones that were that they've conducted themselves. So I think by adding a field there and working with our security, the permissions there, I think we can do that. I'll try to get an answer back to you on that one by Friday. Okay, so where do we want to go from here? Is there more on temporaries that you guys want to talk about, or
I don't. Stola or Joni, you got anything?
Nope, we're good.
Okay, we're ready for online billing. Or what your guys' vision of this to see so we can start planning on our end.
Okay. I'm actually going to switch this over to Jonathan.
I just did, Trev. Well, oh, I gave it back to you. Okay.
I'll give it to Jonathan. You there, Jonathan?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. I'm going to make you the organizer, and you'll just have to share your screen.
All right, can you see this?
Yeah, it looks good. And just keep in mind, everyone, that this is pretty much just the preliminary, us getting this together. Jonathan has done most of the work on this. And the focus so far has been on the security level so far in access. So we welcome any input you guys have. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Yeah, as Trevor said, I've been working a lot more on the back end, so there's not as much to see right now. Just trying to get functionality in place so when we do add the more visual elements, all the support's already there, which is the more intensive part of the development. So when you come to it, general landing page where users can register new accounts or log in, this register will eventually have requirements for them to verify their account prior to the account being active, just so that we're not having rogue accounts submitting garbage to the health departments. So we come over here and we log in. At that point, our navigation at the top changes. We're able to go to our personal account, see what we need, password, all of this still in progress, working on a few updates here. But once you log in, you have access to the dashboard. So under the dashboard, these are all temporary placeholder links on the side. And the design itself could also possibly have some updates. This is kind of the base design we're working with. So the concept here is once users log in, they will have access for to forms that they would fill out physically in your office, like new well application, if there's an application they fill out for the temporary trucks, those forms on there so they can submit them online and have them go to you all at the departments. The other thing is for business owners, establishment owners, to be able to see their establishment information and be able to see their fees and pay that online, as you stated. Now with that, once again, to make sure that we don't have people just going in and saying, well, this is my restaurant, this is my establishment, we would have a form application that is kind of like a claim and establishment form that they would fill out, submit to the health department. Once information is reviewed and approved, you can say, yes, this is the establishment owner. Then they'd have access to that establishment to be able to see any fees or records associated. But this is, as Trevor said, kind of a rough skeleton, as most of our work currently has been on the back end of things.
So are there things that you guys would want to see under the application specifically, or let me rephrase that, what you think the clients would want to see underneath the applications, certain data elements, other than just like the physical piece of paper? Or
I don't know, I'm drawing a blank.
Well, our current starting document is a plan review document and has a lot of questions about their establishment and their plans. But I don't know whether that's what we want.
Will they be indicating, what are you here for? I'm here for a well. I'm here for a blah, blah, and it will produce that paperwork. I'm opening a restaurant. Is that kind of what you guys are thinking? Or you are just going to have, I log on, I create an account, and it's every form that we have available to them, and then they have to go and filter through and try and find?
From the way I would see this is if I'm the restaurant owner, or just even a person in general wanting to find information about something that I have, a septic system, or even just file a complaint, creating the account, and then possibly in the beginning, Jonathan, do you remember the one link that I sent you for Forsyth County where you would select what you're there for by a checkbox, and then after you selected that checkbox, then it gives you a series of questions or things to enter?
Yeah, that's actually one I've been looking at, and basically the way it is so if you click on the applications, you would have a sub-filter where it would be on-site wastewater, wells, food, or other establishments. When you click on that, then you're presented with, say, if there's 15 applications under wells or whatnot, then you're presented with that list, so they're not bombarded with everything. So they will be able to filter it down.
That would be great. But so that's if you're coming in there and filling a form out, right? But what if the client is already current client at McDonald's, and they're just logging in back in again for the next year to pay for their renewal? So they'll already have an established account, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then,
yeah. So in that case, when on their main dashboard here, which, as I said, there's still more elements that need to be added. So on the main dashboards where you're going to see my forms, my establishments, anything that you have submitted, or an establishment that you have already been assigned ownership of. So if, say, McDonald's, for example, they would already have that there, and they would be able to see the information on the primary dashboard. So they would be able to see any fees or their status or whatever they would need to see.
Could there be a spot on there on their dashboard where we could upload documents like our delinquent people whenever we send them letters, so that there's copies of the letters that we mail them, as well as any information that we send that the state's attorney sends to them?
Jonathan, so think of the news item board that we have in IMS. Would that functionality be able to work on the dashboard?
You could,
like that?
that'd be something for you to show to me, a little bit more in depth, but I don't see why it shouldn't, especially if it's something we have in our database. It would just be pulling the information and displaying it there, which is what we're already going to be doing for the establishments as far as fees and what's going on with their account.
Okay.
Yeah, I would think any functionality that we have built into IMS that would be appropriate for a public portal page that we should do. I mean, because the uploading of the documents and the viewing of the documents, that functionality is already built. We would just need to incorporate that into this page, Jonathan. But yeah, we can, Trevor or I can walk you through how that part of it works right now.
But yeah, that having that news item type of module put in there, whenever the user logs in, they would, Madison County would have the ability to send them a message or whatever that they wanted to at that point, and then every time they log in, they would see it.
If we attach, well, never mind. I've answered my own question in my head.
And this functionality would also not just go for establishments, would also go for, say, I'm a user, I came in here and submitted an application for a well, but I put just garbage in the fields. And you're like, well, this isn't going to work, so I want to build in the functionality for you to return it back to the user with comments of, hey, this needs more information, or whatever you type in the comments. So whenever a user logs in to the dashboard and they see my applications or my forms, and they see that on my applications that they see their new well application, and they see the status has been returned with a comment you entered. So that's functionality that I'm building into what we have right now.
Will they be able to print, once they're approved, print their permit from here?
That's not something.
So we can printing them?
That's not something I've worked on yet. That's something we can note and
we do have
check
that.
With.
We do have that functionality in another state, Jonathan. So I can show you that also.
Okay.
We have a public portal for that for on-site.
Yeah, we can. I'll discuss that with you and probably Tim, because I'm assuming that will use Crystal. So we can talk about that.
Okay. And while you guys are talking, I'm making notes about this, about all these different things that we could possibly do. Do you guys foresee a need for the users to upload documents to you guys specifically?
Yeah.
So
we require it of food managers,
okay,
of several of our food restaurant types of permits. They have to add additional stuff for us.
Okay. Do you require site plans and things like that for new wells or anything of that nature? Any documents from just standard users that are going to be submitting forms and applications?
Aaron, did you guys hear that question? That was a document-related question for wells.
Oh, no, I didn't. We don't do wells through your guys' system, but I guess they could pay, I don't know, for a permit.
Yeah, they pay.
But they would, they'd have to have additional documentation, or body art people, if we're going to use this entire system for all of that.
Yeah, they could upload a permit.
But again, I don't know if that'd be allowed, because we don't pay for your services for those things.
Well, the issue there would be, since you're not using the septic and wells module, we wouldn't have any of the fees or anything set up for that on that side of things.
What does this look like then once for our side now. So we kind of have an idea of what it's going to look like for their side. How's it gonna notify us? How are we gonna move it through the system that someone just created an account and that they have a plan review waiting for us? What's that look like?
Well, that'll all be part of, a lot of that will be done behind the scenes with emails being generated and stuff. But what we will do, and this is still something that the developers and I have to work through a little bit. So somebody comes in and submits an application. You guys get notified. I don't know if we're gonna. We could have an email feature if like you guys give us the ideal way to do it would be set up like a distribution group email at the health department that we could identify that. Okay, so anytime somebody uploads something, you guys should send it to this group so that there's an email notice. But at the same time, say somebody submits a plan review for a new establishment. Just using that as an example so we can talk about how this would work. One thing we're going to do in addition to this is in the IMS module that you guys have right now for request complaints, we are going to use that for a plan review, a separate service request for plan reviews for new establishments. So the way that would work would be, actually, Trevor, would you mind just showing them that on the North Carolina system, because this is what we're going to replicate.
Yeah, give me just a second.
For plan reviews. The long and short of it would be this plan review would come in as a service request, so it would be generated automatically on your system. So you would track, I would imagine that this process is at least similar state to state, where if somebody says, I'm opening a new establishment, I'm building over here, you guys do some site visits prior to permitting them, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So
Oops, I'm in the
you
wrong
would,
one.
so prior to permitting them, no, are you okay? I think.
I need to go down here.
Oh, off menu.
I forgot we pulled it out.
John, to kind of, sorry to interrupt, but since we're leaving that other site, what you guys are doing for the customers for a dashboard and all that, when we were talking earlier this year about me wanting a dashboard, that's more of what I was envisioning, like that we would have as users on our end too. That, and then it would show up in that person's dashboard. Dola, when she logged on, she would say, oh, there's a new plan review. I need to make sure all the finances are good, and then move it on to the next person. It would show up in their dashboard. It would go to Molly and go through the system that way. Personally, that's what I was envisioning when we were talking about dashboards.
Because it's not always consecutive approval. It goes from one person to the next. So if you are able to send it on to the next dashboard or next person, it makes better sense.
Sure, and actually well, we'll show you how you can send it from person to person here. In terms of the dashboard, yeah, we've talked about, that my pending inspection calendar. We're looking at making some expansions on that where we're going to be including like things like plan reviews and complaints and requests for service. And then in addition, so what we could do is take that. It wouldn't really be a my pending inspections calendar anymore. It's going to be more of like my workload calendar. But we could show that like in a dashboard form, which I think is what you're getting at. So you would see, okay, on my dashboard, I got, in the next week, I have these 5 inspections I got to do. I have this complaint I need to follow up on. I have a plan review that was submitted from somebody who's not a licensed establishment yet that needs to be looked at. And
I feel like it's more of a, like, not necessarily a workload, it's more like an approval. Like, so you granted that you approved the plan review, you approved the site, and that is more of an approval rather than you got to sign off on it that you did it.
So in the terms of the dashboard, then you're not looking for what do I have to do.
Well, yeah, the inspectors are, but for us on our end, we're looking for those approvals, that kind of flow. But inspectors, yeah, they would need not necessarily the physical calendar. They just need a list of what does their list look like, and then what, like maybe a plan review does pop up and we can scooch it over to assign it to someone, and it would show up on their dashboard.
Well,
or
yeah,
if you guys are calling it a calendar.
Well, no, what I meant was the calendar would stay as is. The dashboard would be a different whole presentation, not in a calendar type thing. It's just going to be, here's everything that basically I need to do, but it sounds like you're also wanting to see maybe things that have done, like the approvals and stuff. Maybe we can give the dashboard would have like a date range maybe. So I mean that's still in a conceptual phase right now, but that's definitely on our list to do. What we'd like to do is get the public portal going, at least the basic functionality working, and get it established, and then continue to add to that as we go, and then keep, it's like any software, we just keep evolving and adding the features and things as we go. But it's definitely something that's on our to-do list, is a logged-in user dashboard. And we'll probably have another call on that before we start any development on that, where we talk specifically about that and get opinions from like all the counties as to what type of items, what type of functionality you need included in that. So just to follow, just to finish this one example though, Trevor, go ahead and just set up some type of plan, or actually look for a plan review that they already have out there. See if you can find one that's not been permitted yet. Oh, you might want to change that request type to narrow that search down.
Yeah, just thought about that. This one has not been opened. No, this one is opened. All right. So what they've done was they would.
No, that doesn't mean the establishment's been opened.
No. That would be closed if it was already created. So what they would typically do is that they would come in, they would click on this button right here. They would add all of the demographic information and things like that to the establishment without having a permit number issued at that point. So then once they save that information, it creates this record right here. They can then go out into the field and do their site visits and recommendations and things like that you need to do. And they would then be able to track their activity to this specific establishment at that point. Once that's done, and they say, okay, they issue the final permit saying that they're open for business, whatever date that is, they would come back in here, they would select this, they would hit the Create Permit button right here. It would then take them to the screen where they can enter the new state ID. Now, in North Carolina, it's different, and I don't know who I'm logged in as right here. But they would enter this right here, and it would then take them out of the permit plan review and have them as a fully functional establishment. So that was the premise of that.
So those types of things, so the plan review now would start from the public page. They would submit that, hey, I'm John Grady and I'm looking to open up a restaurant in Edwardsville. and here's my plan review information. And then you can before you start making site visit stuff, it would give them the ability to upload their documents, and you could respond back to them, letting them know, hey, you still need to do this, this, and this before we can even make a site visit or whatever. So those types of things we want to include on that public portal as well. And there would be notifications. You know, every time somebody submits something, you guys are going to need to be notified. And then we'll provide a means for looking at, you get a notification to go find the information that was sent there. Part of it will be actually in the IMS system. And that's kind of where we're at right now, is getting, like Trevor mentioned at the beginning, is we're still trying to finalize the security of it. And I think Jonathan's got a pretty good handle on that now. So now we'll move from there into now start adding actual functionality and interfacing between data that's being sent by the public, that's for requests and complaints and payments and the whole shot. And then how does that then going to make its way to the IMS system for you guys to view and review and update, and then notify the whoever submitted it what the next steps are or whatever.
I have a question for you guys, actually. When someone comes in to open up a new restaurant, let's assume they're going to do this on this public portal. The first thing they do is they submit an application, and then there's a fee associated with that. Do you guys review that application before you allow them to do some kind of plan review? What are the next step? What are the steps between the application submittal and the actual plan review?
We make them pay for a plan review, so they come in, they pay, and hand us over their paperwork for a plan review. We take their money, we review their file or their application. Sometimes we reject it, sometimes we ask for more stuff. Eventually, we get them passed. Then we send them a letter. Along with that letter comes the application for the actual permit. At that time, they'll complete the permit. They'll pay for the permit, and they'll notify us when they're ready for the pre-opening inspection. We'll go out, conduct the pre-opening inspection, and then they start in the system as far as how often we inspect them.
Gotcha. Okay, John, it may be beneficial to have maybe verbiage in some kind of dynamic. I'm not sure if every single health department does it the same way as, in Illinois versus any other place that we go to. Have some verbiage on there that explains the workflow process when they're actually logging in, so they know what to expect. You click a button, you submit your money. What's next?
I think that would be extremely helpful. Yeah, and it would have to be so every county can set it up their own, say what they want to say.
And we already have some of that developed.
Yeah, for sure. We'd probably take a slightly different approach to it, but we did something similar, Trevor, that helpful search hints that Appalachian District gave us, that we gave them a link to off their website. I think on the public page, we'd probably want to have some customized text, Aaron said that, where each county could, dictate what they want to have on there.
Right.
Which would actually be embedded on the page, but it would be something similar to what Appalachian District just gave us that we put out there for them.
Okay. I haven't seen that yet, but.
If you just Google Appalachian, their health department, you can get to that. You can get to that real quick. I would just give you the URL directly to it, but I don't have it.
Health department.
That's not the health department's website. Yeah. Just go right to the environmental one right below it.
Clicked it.
And then over on the right, there'll be this is like septic and well permits, I think, or something. Septic system, yeah, that. And then that helpful search tips button. That's just a link to one of their documents.
Okay.
So, yeah, so they customize, this is their document. We could even take it as far as, say, taking that text and just embedding it right on the screen, or give them a quick view to it instead of opening up a PDF or something like that.
Yeah, and then I guess another piece would be is like once they submitted their application and their money and everything was approved, then before they would have a request plan review, then someone at the health department would have to hit an approval button, and then next time they log in, maybe that approval button emails the user and let them know that it's ready. They can then log back in and start their plan review process.
On the user side, will they be able to? They'll be able to print off old inspections and assessments and stuff like that, won't they?
I mean, they could.
Yeah, but see, now that's exactly the type of thing we're looking for from you guys for. I haven't heard that mentioned before, but that's certainly something we can incorporate into the public portal page. If they log in and there's establishments tied to their login credentials that they would have the ability to view the inspection history of their establishments, and we could put print the inspection form on there, sure.
You guys have any other suggestions? You want to just sit on these things for a little bit?
I don't know. We were just talking about if you guys were tying your other systems together as far as like for the medical side, but I don't know what all you guys do over there.
Do you guys use our EMR system currently?
Yes.
That's actually something that we've been talking about, was having some interfacing between EMR and environmental health. It's it's going to be a development effort between two teams, and we've actually talked about that last month. And we're going to one of our developers is in discussions right now with one of the developers from the EMR side of things. And I believe that we're gonna that'll be actually something that's going to happen fairly soon. That what's going to happen fairly soon is us to do a scaled down version of the interface of data, so we can show, say, like, you guys, here's what we can do. What do we need to do to expand on this to get what you need? But that's definitely in the talks, and it's in the works right now.
Okay, so I'm thinking, I mean, if you guys I don't know what you're envisioning, so I'm going to tell you what I'm envisioning. If I own a restaurant and I log into this portal, and I'm already established, I want to be able to see what my old inspections were, as well as any kind of documentation, as far as like letters, et cetera, that was sent. I want to be able to see when my permit expires, when I'm due to pay again, and in that application, if or when I need to do that.
And have the ability to maybe upload documents such as like their food manager certificate.
Yeah, that they can log on and maybe upload their own stuff even then to update us and say, hey, I have 5 new certified food managers just like you required or whatever. And maybe it would be super awesome if they could like send us a little message too and be like, so, and it would
ask questions or what.
Yeah. If they've got a question, they could just like message us or email us through that. That's what I'm envisioning if I own a restaurant and I'm logging onto a portal.
So when you say add the CFMs, are you referring to the actual paper upload and adding the person digitally so that it goes into our system?
Well, you took it a step further. I wasn't even thinking about being able to like literally type it in and it would go into your system. I don't know if that's what they would be.
I think both, really.
It would be awesome if they could have the option of both. I don't know realistically how often they'll send us that to actually put it in the system, but I think they'll take a picture and upload it of their little card.
It'd be awesome if it was an option for them to put it in for us. It'd be already done.
Yeah.
Well, if they're entering, say, the person's name and their license number already, there's no reason why we couldn't just create the record because that's all we need to do it anyway.
Right.
Well, and we'd want to see the hard copy to verify that it wasn't a made-up number. So if it was like beside it, so you put in the number, that automatically goes in the system, and then they have an upload that's next to the name or whatever.
Okay, so I've got some of these things written down. There was something else. I got, they want to see when the permit expires. Then we talked about the CFMs, and they want to see the old inspections, print the permits online. What else is a restaurant owner? I'm missing one.
Letters or any kind of communication, like the things that we've sent them for overdue bills, etc. And then perhaps a way to message us if they have questions.
Okay.
Or just want to yell at us.
Well, we do have a complaint button. All right, so I've got those for us to discuss internally.
Maybe and I don't know if what others would think of this, but we were saying maybe if they were due for a reinspection only at that point, maybe we would, it could indicate, hey, we're coming back on this date for, I don't know, but that's kind of out there.
Well, if
that's all I can think.
If we had a news item board when they logged in, they would be able to see that. You guys could actually enter that text, and then whenever they logged in, they would see it.
Oh, yeah. I can tell you right now, we're not going to be manually entering that text in there. There's way too many places.
Okay.
Are you currently scheduling it in IMS or anywhere else already?
I think it generates when they put in there if they mark on their inspection form. Is that what you're asking?
Like you said that it's like a calendar that you're marking what places you're going and when. Are you tracking that already through our system? Like on IMS or another part of our system already, or is that something you're tracking internally for your calendar?
No, we assign inspections through you guys. Sometimes we put the very beginning of the date, so that's why the calendar's not the most handiest for us.
Okay. I was gonna say if you're,
but the rechecks are generated through your guys' inspections.
If it's something that we already have in our system date-wise, we can attempt and see if we could get at least a notification of, hey, this is the date given. If we have that data, we can attempt to try to put it out there for the users. So if it's either auto-generated or you're entering it into a calendar that we provide in another system, we can try to get that displayed to users if possible.
Well, I don't know if I have any more questions. Anyone else, or do you guys have anything else to show?
I think we're okay until we could see a little bit farther into the program, more what it looks like, you know, once it gets more, a little bit more developed.
Yeah.
Yeah. John, we were supposed to discuss this internally last week, I believe, but I think we missed that one. Do we want to schedule a date for us to talk internally, and then we can possibly show them something going forward? Maybe if we have time at the next CCB meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely. You got my calendar. Just next week, I have pretty wide open.
Okay. I'll get with everybody on the team. That
very little scheduled for next week, so that would be a good time for us to iron this out.
All right.
And one thing I have to say, if you all have any forms that applications that are used frequently, if you're able to maybe scan that to PDF and send it in to us for us to look at, because we're trying to look at a couple of different places of how their forms applications look, what fields are you getting from the users, then that would help us as far as establishing a couple base applications, base forms.
Sure. Are you guys envisioning, like, for our, I log in, I create a username, I am going to apply for a plane review. Will it literally be me, like, looking at a PDF and me taking exactly, or or is it going to be so that, like, I type in, you know, like, my name, Erin Baster, and then I type in the restaurant that I'm opening, and, like, I answer the questions through your website? I didn't know what vision you guys had for that.
Have you used the My Apps on the tablets?
Yeah, that's what we use as your...
So in the way that the My Apps is kind of like just the forms, like the sections you fill out, and then it puts where it needs to be on the PDF, it will be similar to that. Is they're not going to be looking at the PDF itself, they're going to be looking at places and form sections that we create that will relate back to the PDF or documents.
Will this be personalized per county? Because what I do compared to what Sangamon County is going to be completely different. And the same thing for our applications and all of that. We're all going to be crazy different.
That's one thing we're trying to review and look at right now.
Yeah, and I think that's where we're going to, like Jonathan said, you know, take a look at the forms, because what we need to do is identify what pieces of information are common county to county, and then, you know, segregate the ones that are specific that you guys do, and figure out a way to incorporate a section that is configured by county.
Okay, because I don't know if we're definitely not willing. I'm not willing to compromise and say, like, if we've had meetings about how to specifically name things. So I don't want to say, oh, since Peoria County wants this is how they do their application, I'm going to follow along. I'm not willing to adopt to that kind of stuff, to be quite honest.
And my guess would be, Erin, that the other counties probably feel exactly the same way. Nobody,
exactly,
you know, and we don't want you guys to change your business, you know, have you change your workflow just, you know, for the sake of compromise. Well, you know, we can make things, you know, either county configurable or dynamic enough where we should be able to accommodate that.
Okay. Well, I don't think I really.
Are you gonna, for on the customer side of the dashboard, like, say for instance, like the Taco Bell, they're corporate owned, so they have like a licensing department that fills out all their applications for each individual location. The individual establishments do not fill those out. Will will they be able to just create like one user ID and link themselves to all of those establishments so that their licensing department at their corporate office can see all of them in one spot?
Yeah, that was one of the original things that we had discussed internally. So if you're even if it's not corporate, if you're a just an entrepreneur and you own 5 different restaurants, you would be able to see all of them, like on your dashboard.
Yeah, we want to try to design this with multiple counties and even states in mind, so that you create one account, and from the singular public portal account, you're able to access multiple locations. Say either you're a business owner or you have your own rental properties and you have applications, you're able to go in here and do it for different counties or states through the single account.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
All right. No one has anything else, then I guess we'll adjourn. I appreciate you guys' input today.
Thanks for showing us around and showing us the environmental health or the temporary event stuff.
Okay. And if you guys
more
want,
manageable than what I was thinking.
if you need access or want access to the demo site to just, kick it around for a little bit, let me know and I'll set up those accounts for you. Just let me know who needs access to it and we can go that route.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
All right.
All right, have a great day, everybody.
You too.